Here is the assembly of the side table. You'll need a cordless drill or a number 2 Robertson screwdriver if you want to do it by hand, or if you don't have a drill. And a tape measure is an option for the very last step. All of the stainless screws are included, as well as the driver bit screws. The first step is mating the legs to the aprons. The legs are countersunk have one single countersunk hole on one side. So you're going to start some screws in the opposite face. So my countersunk is over on this side. And you're going to take part A. This is the longer one without any holes in it. And you're going to make sure that the end of A is flush with the leg. Just shift and adjust it until you get them flush. You can feel them. And making sure that you're solid down flat on the table. You're not sitting up in the air crooked. It takes some little bit of shifting around, and just squeeze them firmly with one hand and just confirm after you screw the first one in that the leg didn't kick up. If you weren't holding it tight to the table, it can shift on itself. So just make sure that everything's solid and flat and flush on that end and that side. Opposite end, but on the same side. And confirm that I'm still flat to the table. Side and the last two. Just be sure not to over tighten those, because you want the screw head just to be flush or just barely below the surface, or else they can poke through if you really drive those in too far. Now we're going to mate one of the C pieces on the end here. These are countersunk on one side. That side needs to face out, and there's 2 pre-drilled holes. That side edge needs to be down to the table. So these are going to go like so. And you're going to screw into the aprons here, You just do one to the side. I always like to start my screws by hand just to get them to hold. So I don't fumble around once everything's lined up. And you want to confirm that that is flush, the end to the face. It's nice and flush. And again, pressing firmly down to the table so that other edge is flush as well. These are going into the end grain, so just snug them up. It's very, very easy to over tighten these and rip the fibers out of the end grain. And then the other one on one end. Like that. Next, you flip the table over, and we're going to install these plates with the 4 holes drilled in them onto the ends. So you want the holes facing up and down. Start my screws from the inside. We're just going to confirm that it's flush on top and the 2 ends are even with each other, not sticking out on one side or the other. And just squeeze it tight with your hand. to take the two shorter top slats and one edge and two ends are rounded over. That's the top of the table, but we're going to build it upside down. So make sure that you flip these over so that rounded side is facing down. And flip your table over again. Starting these in here so I don't fumble around. Now we're going to take one of the longer slats and it's hard to show exactly on camera, but what you want to do is place it on top of the slat and tight, holding it tight to there. You're going to want to make these flush, the face of this board to the edge of the bottom board, flush end to end. And you're also going to want to place this board on top of that slat, and you're going to look down and confirm that the edge, the tip, the corner of this shorter slat on the bottom meets the edge of this slat. Try and shift this around a little bit to show this better. It's very pronounced, but that's not what you want, and that's not what you want. You want the tip, the tip of the corner there to meet this face here. You're just going to go back and forth and shift it either way, and then double check and confirm before you screw it down that you didn't shift it out of place this way. You may need to adjust it in and out as well, this way. It's a little bit of back and forth for this part. This way it's easier for me. Flush there, good there, a little bit off, and a little bit pronounced on this. Good there. Pretty good there. And just hold some weight down on it so it doesn't shift when you screw these down. And just go deep enough so that the head of the screw is flush with the wood. You don't want to over tighten these and have it pop through the tabletop. So that's one side. Now you're going to install these last two top slats. They do have one rounded side, one rounded end on each side. You're going to face that down to the table again. We're still going to build it upside down. Just place them down. And this is your judgment of placement on these. Can take a little bit to shift and shimmy them around to get them even. So the ends are even with each other, and again, as well as the gap. Just use your eyeballs and gauge for yourself what an even gap is between all three. Just make sure that you have these in the right orientation so it has a nice arc to it and these aren't reversed. And then just hold some weight down on the assembly so they don't shift out of position. And the very last step is to install the shortest, screws got hung up there, shortest blocks in between these legs through the countersunk holes. So there's two methods for doing this, two options I should say. Is you can measure down to the center of the hole and then measure the hole from the side to the center of the hole and then place your block in and remeasure center of the block to what your previous measurement was, to the center of the hole that way. And then measure from the side to the center of the block, whatever measurement your measurement is that way. And then drive the screw in with your screwdriver. A second method is to place the block on there and get down so you're looking straight across the table at the screw, and just eyeball it to the center of the block. It's quite easy to see if your block is low or high, basically, of looking from the end of the table. You can tell which way it is that way, and then you're gonna look straight down and get your side to side off of that. It's quite easy to get it wrong, but it's pretty straightforward to get it in the right spot. I like to install these so they don't poke through, but they're in quite a ways, and you know the screw is straight. It's a bit deceiving to try and look and then gauge where you are, because you're sort of blind underneath that block. So that is the easiest way, is to just gauge it from both up and down, and then side to side. And then just make sure you hold some tight pressure against yourself, against the drill, I mean. And don't over tighten these. The next side is much easier because the block is being held up. But this will depend on how you installed this. If it did turn on you a little bit, these legs can be a little bit splayed. But this will hold everything tight. So just confirm again. I like to just get down and look straight across that screw and make sure I'm at the right height to be centered on that board. Make sure I'm not sticking through. Centered both ways. If you have bad eyes or you don't trust your judgment, the tape measure is an option as well. I prefer this method, as your eyes don't usually lie to you. You can tell if something isn't looking right, or and that is it.